Welcome back, everybody, to the Coffee and Grace podcast with Amanda. And I am here with a very special guest today, my sweet friend Melody. And she's also a musician from Faithful Word Baptist Church. She's been a musician there for several years now. I'm very excited to have her on today to actually talk to us about the benefits of music for kids. So, everybody, help me welcome Melody to the party here, the party podcast. So thanks so much for being here, Miss Melody. Can you tell those who don't know you yet, can you share a little bit about who you are and your work as a musician?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. So, when I was around 12 years old, my mom, she decided that she wanted to teach me what she knew about music. And for as long as I can remember, we always had guitars in our house. So she grabbed one of those guitars in this guitar book that she had, and she decided to sit me down and just help me learn how to, play it and read sheet music as best as she could. And a couple years after that, I decided that I wanted to learn the piano. So I got a keyboard, and it wasn't the best keyboard. So I learned some basic piano on that, and I also learned how to play the organ with it. And a couple years after that, I decided that I wanted to finally get a cello because I'd always wanted to play it since I was a little kid. And I finally was able to get a cello, and also I was blessed enough to the same year, later that year, to get a violin. So those are the instruments I can play, and cello is my favorite, so that's the one that I play at church.
Very nice. I'm so excited for you about your talent. I mean, you are very good on that cello at church, and so it's always nice to see you up there playing so gracefully. And so we definitely appreciate that. And I totally didn't know that about your mom, that she taught you the guitar. And that is so sweet for you to have that mother-daughter relationship like that so early, to learn how to play music like that. So that's so beautiful. I love that. So, what are some of the biggest developmental benefits you see when children start learning an instrument?
Right, so there are a lot of benefits. Most notably would be that it's because music is like a bass. So it activates a lot of different parts of your brain, and it helps you not just in music, but just throughout like different parts of life. So it helps your long-term memory, to be able to just remember you, because when you learn music, you retain a lot. You can learn a lot of songs and retain them. So it strengthens your long-term memory. It helps your muscle memory too, because if you practice something enough, you can eventually do it blindfolded, so you don't even have to look at it. Which, with that, it helps you to strengthen your other senses, because while you're reading sheet music, you can't always look at your instrument. So sometimes you have to rely on ear or how it feels when you play it. Sight reading, the more you read notes and the better and quicker you get at it, you can eventually just look at it and tell, okay, this is this note, this is what I have to play, which helps you to read regular books faster too.
Right.
Let's see. Also, music is like a second language. There's a lot you have to learn, a lot of structure and kind of like grammar and words and symbols. So, because of that, I've seen studies where people who know how to read music, it helps them to learn a second language and to be able to pronunciate it better and learn the grammatical structures easier. And also, it helps you to quickly improvise. Like, one thing that makes a musician good, it's not just about how good they play, but how well they're able to improvise quickly. And so it helps you to be able to improvise in other areas too. And even just, it's not just children that music benefits, it's also people of all ages, because the older you get, you need to keep doing things to like keep your brain sharp. And I've seen that people who play instruments well into their 50s or even just listen to music, it helps even keep dementia, like prevent it from coming quicker and everything.
Amazing, amazing. Those are great benefits. And I love how it, I feel like it's helped my son a lot being so musical. But I also love that it helps him to, you know, be able to self-regulate his emotions as well.
Right.
Because when he gets upset about something, I notice that he'll just like run to his room and start playing his piano right away. And when he comes back out, he's in such a great mood, after he's been doing
Right.
something that's his favorite hobby. So all of those things that you mentioned are really, really great. But I also just love that it helps him be happy again.
Well, even Even playing music, it's playing it, and especially if you're like struggling on a piece of music and then you finally play it right, it releases dopamine and it makes your brain and your body happy and it calms you down depending on, what kind of music it is and stuff. Oh, and another thing is that music does help you with math too, because you have to kind of know a little bit of math to be able to figure out how to play music sometimes. So it helps strengthen your math skills too, because I know I'm not very good at math, but I feel like I've gotten better at it the better musician I've become. So
That is so awesome. I guess I need to start playing music so I can improve my math skills. That's so awesome. I love that. So, can playing an instrument help with things like confidence, responsibility, and social skills?
I definitely feel like this answer varies depending on who you are as a person, because I myself am a very shy person, and even still, I've been playing for about 9 years now, but even still, I get very nervous at the thought of like playing in front of everybody with no other band members playing with me. But I feel like, yes, it has made me grow more confident, just slower for me because I'm shy. But even not just playing though, like I am more confident singing too. Like it's helped me to just being surrounded by it. It's helped me to be more confident singing around others. With social skills too, it depends on who you are, because kids or young people, they might show up and play the music but not interact with anyone. And some of them, it might encourage them to interact with more people because they want that teamwork. So,
That's great. So many parents wonder what the right age is to start instruments. What would you say to that?
well, even when children are babies, they can show signs of, loving music and wanting to play. I've seen these like little music toys at the store where it's a little guitar or a piano or drums or something. And even then, they might pick that and they might pick a preference from that. But I would say for sure the best age is whenever they just have a solid foundation of the alphabet. Because when you're teaching them or you're getting a tutor for them, you don't want to have to teach them the alphabet alongside the music because that can frustrate them. And even you don't have to necessarily know how to read the notes to play music, but it'll be a lot easier for you and you'll be able to learn a lot more and learn how to improvise a lot better if you know that. So as long as they understand the alphabet, I'd say it's a go ahead to start teaching the music.
It's a go. That is awesome. I love that. So, what are some signs a child might be ready or more ready than parents think they are?
Well, that does vary too, because I know me personally, and this shocks a lot of people because I am so fond of music. I didn't want to learn at all. My mom kind of had to force me a little bit, but the more she kind of enforced it, the more I enjoyed it for sure. And it became probably my greatest hobby, my greatest passion. But like I was saying, a lot of times children, even when they're babies, can like really learn to love music, just from the little toys that they have and stuff. So definitely, of course, if they're asking, that's a good sign. If they're asking, hey, can you help me learn it? Can you help get me this thing? But also just if you want to teach it to them, but they're not really too excited about the idea, as long as they're old enough to be able to like understand the alphabet and to be able to like read a little bit, I think you could start then too.
You could try something. Great. A lot of parents hesitate because instruments can be expensive. What options exist for families who want their kids to try music without a big upfront cost?
Right, and so this was one of the reasons why it took me so long to play some of the instruments I wanted to, because even though I didn't learn music until I was 12, when I was 10 years old, I found out what the cello was. And ever since that moment, I was like, I want to play this. But cellos are they're expensive. A good one is probably about $2,000. So I was like, I can't get one of these. But I found out a couple years ago, an option is, music stores. A lot of them have a rental program, and it seems kind of silly. Like, why didn't I realize that before? But you can use that rental program, and you can rent an instrument for about a month. And depending on the instrument, the cost changes. But I know when I discovered it, at that time, I wanted to learn the flute, which I am not a flute player. So, I discovered that because I was able to rent it, and I rented it for $20 for the whole month. And flutes, a good one is about $200. So if I hadn't rented it, I would have owned a flute that I couldn't do anything with, so that would have been $200 wasted. But instead, I rented it for a month. It was only $20, and I discovered this isn't for me. I can't play this, so let me return it, and I can find a new option.
That is fantastic that rentals are available. And I'm glad you had that experience so you didn't have to throw that money down the drain.
And
So,
another point with the rentals is that, to my knowledge, like I don't know what the time limit is, but you can rent for a long time because the cello that I play is being rented for me, and I've had it for almost 2 years now, and they have not made me
wow.
return it or change it or anything. So you can rent for a long time until you're able to afford the instrument yourself, or just until you decide, okay, I'm done with this. I want to move on.
Amazing. Amazing. I love that you could do that. Okay. What would you tell a parent who is unsure which instrument they should rent for their child?
Well, there's a couple ways you can go about this. One is you can take them to a music store and they can like look around and see what might interest them. You could, again, if you have a little bit more money, you can just rent a couple things and see what they stick to. Um, but for me, the reason why I wanted to learn how to play the cello was because I saw these two musicians on YouTube and I just listened to them play it and I decided I really love the way this sounds. This is the instrument I want. So even if you want like a free option, just have them search different instruments on YouTube and have them listen to it and maybe figure out, I like the way that looks when they're playing it. I like the way that sounds. I feel like that's something I could do.
Perfect. I love that. Are there any benefits to letting a child experiment with different instruments before committing to one?
For sure. And I would say that regardless of what they want, they probably should have a starting instrument, either, guitar or piano or something that, because piano, there is so much to learn with piano that if you learn the piano, you can learn pretty much any instrument after that, I would say. So, at least in the very beginning, they can learn a bit of piano, but if they have a dream instrument after that, then, you can try to help them pursue that. Because if they start off with an instrument that they do not want, it might completely turn them off of the idea of music. Which for me, I I love the guitar. I love hearing it when other people play, but I don't personally enjoy playing it myself. But I grew to love music so much that I didn't really care. I still wanted to play the instrument. But for others, it might be different. They might decide I don't want music if it's all going to be like this. So I definitely think yes, letting them experiment will help. And also, sometimes instruments, you just cannot physically play them. Not every instrument is for every person. Me, I can't play the flute. I don't have the lungs for it. My finger, I can't like move it sideways for some reason when I'm trying to play. So you can work around that with the cello. I just move my hand differently. But with the flute, you can't work around that. So I decided I can't play this. I need to find something else. So letting them experiment with how it sounds in case they prefer a different sound, or even if it's just more comfortable for them to play something else, is a good idea.
Perfect. I love that. So, one thing you mentioned to me is the idea of letting kids join a band or group even before they are fully trained. Why do you feel that's beneficial?
To me, this stems from my own personal experience because when I got the cello, I had only had it for 3 months before I decided, okay, I want to take this to band practice at church. And I'm only going to do it during practice. I'm not ready. I knew I felt not ready at all to play. But so I played during practice, and all of my band members, they encouraged me and said, hey, you should play this during service today. And I was like, looking back at the time, I definitely did not sound anywhere near as good as I do now. But it was their encouragement to help me play that, their encouragement helped me to play. And also, it helped me to grow a lot quicker because one of the reasons why I ever joined the band to begin with was because I just did not have that much time at home to play. And I wanted to grow my knowledge and love of music, so I decided I want to join the band because it'll give me more time to play. And it really does help you grow quicker because not only is it more time, but you are learning more stuff being on a band than just maybe at home looking at YouTube videos. And also, you can vary your play style because you could have three people playing the same instrument, but they all have completely different play styles. So you can even just learn how to change your style into a way that you would prefer.
Very interesting. Very nice. Yes, I love that. How does being part of a band or an ensemble help accelerate learning?
Well, like I was saying, not there's also different play styles, but also people who play different instruments might have a better knowledge of something. Like, say you're a piano player, you play chords and a guitarist plays chords, but a guitarist knows chords more than you, so you can learn from them on how to do chords and just other things like that. Like, also, I'm not a song leader, but because I have a song leader, I understand how to read music better because the hand movements that they do corresponds with the timing of the music. And music timing was always something I struggled to learn because it involves math. So having a song leader and having him be there to kind of help me figure that out helped me to learn a lot more just about a completely different part of music that had nothing to do with my instrument. So being around other people who have different knowledge and experience helps you grow too.
That's fantastic. That's so interesting how that works. Do you have a story of someone that you know that grew significantly after being placed in a group earlier than expected?
Well, yeah, there is my own story, but there's also a friend of mine who's on the band who, when they would play, they played a little harsh, let's say. They would play the notes way harder than they kind of needed to, but they were around us, and we were playing differently, so they kind of picked up how we played, and they were able to change their style. So they have their own style, but they also have our style, and it helped them to learn. It helped them to be able to improvise and improve depending on what situation you're in. And it helped them a lot more quickly because when you're playing in your free time, you might not exactly have enough free time to be able to experiment or even just learn. But just surrounding yourself with music more and more, especially playing on a band because it's 3 times a week and for a couple hours on Sunday even, it helps you to grow a lot faster than if you're just, well, I'll do whenever I have time at home. It's at least being on a band is kind of like a set schedule to where you're always going to know you have practice at that time.
Great, great. What advice would you give to parents who want to encourage music at home, even if they aren't musical themselves?
Right. So one thing I would say for that is that kids love even just listening to music. So one thing you could do is just play music and sing along with them or pretend to play along with them even because I know that whenever I'm singing with someone it is such a bonding experience and it makes me love it even more. So for children who want to bond all the time, it's going to become very important to them. So just play music, and there are a lot of videos on YouTube you can find that kind of teach you how to play, but in like a very kid-friendly version, and it like has the notes on the screen and all that. So you could play something like that, or like those little toy instruments, you could get those and pretend to play with the kid. So if you make it, especially for younger ages, if you make it more fun, they'll definitely grow to have a love for it and they'll want to do it and play it on their own too because you've shown and encouraged that it's a fun, good thing to do.
Awesome. Well, maybe that's where some of Caleb's love for music comes from, is because I do love to sing. Even though I don't know how to play any instruments whatsoever, I actually do really enjoy singing. I've loved singing my entire life. So maybe that's where he gets some of it. I'll take some credit. But otherwise, yeah, it's all him. So he's very talented. And thank you so much for being his tutor, by the way. I am noticing that he's growing and learning and improving so much already in the short time that you've been working with us. So thank you
Oh,
so much for that. I really appreciate that. So, how can families help their kids develop good practice habits without making it feel like homework?
well, so definitely depending on the age, this can vary. For young kids, try to make it a little bit more of a game. You can use flashcards and like other little things, flashcards, videos, other little things that they might find fun, depending on how like what your rules are, some kids you can use candy. Like I saw a YouTube video where they wanted their kids to learn the notes, like the note names like A, B, and C. So what they did was they drew up a piece of sheet music with the staff lines, but they didn't put the notes in, and they had Smarties, and they had the kids figure out which one was which, and if they got it right, they could eat the Smarties. So some kids are definitely very oriented by candy and toys and stuff like that, little rewards. So if you just make it a little fun, then they might enjoy it. And also, I would say try not to do it too often because music can get a little complicated. So you don't want to like bog them down, especially since little kids usually have so many other subjects to learn. So unless they're the type of child who wants to do it every single day, and then so.
Right. Caleb definitely loves playing every single day. So I'm like, okay, we got him the piano. He loves playing every day and he's been playing really well for a long time. I'm like, I guess we should probably go ahead and get him, some tutoring. So I'm glad you encouraged us to do that eventually because at first, back in the day, I wasn't sure and I didn't want to go through the whole thing if he wasn't really interested. But since he was practicing every single day, had his own piano, I thought, okay, I think he's finally ready I think I'm convinced that he's ready for lessons.
Right.
I was a hard sell on that. Okay. So, what should parents look for in a good tutor program or instrument rental company?
Right. So one of the reasons why I wanted to become a tutor was because I am entirely self-taught. I was unfortunately never able to afford a tutor. Um, so everything I learned took a long time to learn, and a lot of things like I did discover a lot of tips and stuff, but like after I already knew it anyway. So one thing was that I decided I wanted to help others learn those tips early so that they didn't struggle. And because everything I learned was like off YouTube videos or just playing myself, and I wanted to be able to help teach, especially little children who have a knowledge for it, but they can't really understand as well as they would like to help them learn it in a simpler way. Because even if you look up stuff on YouTube, it's like the musicians want to sound fancy, so they don't explain it in a way that's really good for you. So I wanted to be able to share that with people who really wanted to learn it and didn't want to have to struggle.
Right. To shorten that learning curve. I love that. I love
And
that.
for the rental companies, I'm not entirely sure because the church has always rented for me. So I know just find a credible music store. Don't go
Okay.
to one that's like some weird, like you don't know what it is. Like also depends because I think like Guitar Center doesn't have as wide variety of instruments. I'm pretty sure my cello's from Milano. They have more options. And also, um, most instruments come in different sizes. Like my cello is not full size; it's actually kind of an abnormal size. So Milano had it, but Guitar Center didn't. So if you want to make sure that you and your child are comfortable with the instruments you're playing, definitely go to somewhere that's going to have more options.
Okay. That's great advice. That's great advice. How can parents help their child stick with an instrument long enough to see its benefits?
Yeah, so children are probably, depending on the child, they might want to give up on the instrument or they might want to like, just like not play music at all or anything. I would say whether or not it's an instrument they picked, what you could do is you could give them a break from the instrument itself, keep encouraging listening to the music and teaching them how to read it, but the instrument itself they can take a break and then they can come back to it because I've seen in a lot of cases when someone is struggling to learn something, they take a break from it and when they come back for some reason it just immediately clicks and they get it right away. So maybe all they need is just a little bit of a physical and mental break from the instrument and then they can come back to it and realize, hey, I can figure this out, I can do this.
That's great. That's great. So give them a little break. Perfect.
Right.
What is one thing that you wish every parent knew about the long-term impact of music on the child's life?
I do wish that a lot of parents would understand how it's because music is a base and it helps activate so many parts of your brain and it helps you throughout so many areas of life that they would understand that and that how okay I should encourage music, I should at least play it, at least like have it playing on a speaker or something so that they can be surrounded with it because honestly music is super important. Even God tells us that we should play music because he loves hearing it. And even just in nature, like I've seen studies how certain plants grow faster depending on what music is playing. So music is just a very important thing everywhere in the world and even in heaven. So
Right.
right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We definitely love music over here.
Right.
We play music. Caleb plays it more than anybody, though. He always has more songs going than I do. I get a little overstimulated with music over here sometimes, but I still love it. So, where can families find you, follow your work, and possibly enroll their kids in lessons?
There's two main ways I would say. I have a Facebook and my name is just Melody Arkell on my Facebook. But there also is a way to look up vendors on the ESA website, And I think you can either search by name or you can search by just category, like under tutor and music and stuff like that. So there's two options. So if you don't have a Facebook, you can always just look on the ASA website.
Fantastic. I love that. Yeah, I love that Miss Melody is already an ESA approved vendor. So she's very easy to work with if you're in the state of Arizona and you are participating in the ESA program. She literally sends me an invoice. I upload that straight to the program. It takes like 2 seconds. She gets paid. Caleb gets tutored and everybody's happy. So it's really a super great thing. So she's really, really easy to work with. So thank you so much, Miss Melody, for coming on and sharing your experience and sharing all the different wonderful benefits that that parents can expect their children to have as learning the musical instruments. And I also want to give a shout out to our church real quick too. We're actually having a musicians conference at Faith Forward Baptist Church in March. So if you'd like the details on that, I'll post them down in the description of this video. And so you're welcome. I know there are people going to be coming from all around the world to this musicians conference. So I'll put that information down in the description if you're interested. So thanks again, Melody, for joining us. I'm so thankful for you. And thank you everyone for watching. See you on the next podcast of Coffee and Grace with Amanda. Have a great day.